Welcome, everybody, to the Awake and Sober podcast. It's a podcast about life and recovery through Christ.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes. Start off, we give a shout out to our sponsors. First and foremost, Tactile Turn, the pen above all pens. Right there.
I agree with that.
The stainless steel. Right there. Awake and Sober. Can y'all see it? Perfect, right? And then if you watch it on the big screen, you can see it. So make sure you got a 75-inch when you watch us. No. And he said no. And shout out to Country Designs. Make these lovely shirts for us here. And that.
So it's not country grammar.
Not country grammar. Not country style.
Ooh, country style eggs, some biscuits and gravy.
Well, we had some country style.
We had some multiple country style stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Christina for dinner.
Yes, thank you, Christina.
Very ethnic.
It was the fusion.
It was.
It was fusion. But Country Design, find them on Facebook. Shout them out. Tell them Awake and Sober sent you. And get your designs done up. Laser printing on the cups.
I still want to see one of those.
I do too.
When are you going to bring us in one?
Yeah,
As soon as I hope you see this. No, I'll text her and let her know. But I told her that we made a shout out to her company last week or the week before this week's podcast that went out.
This week's.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll see her Friday and we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
She hasn't been at work in like 2.5 weeks or a week and a half. So
well, that must be nice.
Yeah.
you know, everybody gets a vacation nowadays, it looks like.
Yeah.
Except you.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I got mine.
I don't.
It's coming up in a month.
So what are we going to talk today? What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about the steps.
Which one? Because there's a bunch of them. It took a lot of steps to get there.
12.
Step 12.
Right. And with that, we decided we was going to bring on the poster child for Step 12. Brent's back.
Poster child.
The poster child for Step 12.
I guess it's a good thing to be the poster child for.
Hey, man.
Because usually when we speak poster child, it's not.
Well, he was a poster child of Step 1 for a while.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like a step that you don't want to be poster child for, and I was thinking probably Step 1.
You were stuck there for a little bit, right? But no, I mean, when it comes to servitude and that, the boy does it all.
He does.
You know, you have to ask twice. I'm like, hey, you want to do a podcast for Step 12? I'll be there.
But
there he is.
Not in a codependent kind of way.
No.
I would say he still found boundaries within there.
Right. The reason why we recorded today, because this was the first day he could actually get here to record with us on this stuff. That's why.
There we go.
I mean, you asked me in advance. As long as I get asked in advance, I think that's one of my boundaries.
Okay.
I like last minute.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just always forget. It slips my mind.
Yeah.
That's what I'll blame it on. It slips my mind.
So, obviously, Brent's taking Mike's place this week.
No,
Mike's
Mikey.
not here. He was busy.
He was busy.
How you get too busy for this podcast, Mike? I hope you watch it. You hear me say this.
I think he was just busy going back home to get pickleball stuff after work.
That is true. He was still at work when I left, and that's usually not happening. Stop.
Oh,
I don't mean it like that. On Wednesdays, though, he usually gets out the door before I do.
Oh.
But today, I actually got out the door before he did. You found that funny, didn't you?
I did.
How you doing, Jerv?
I'm doing great, actually. I don't know why my voice went up like 4 octaves. I'm doing great.
Puberty.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate it.
Finally grew up.
Thank you. No, it was a good weekend. Finally got the gutters on our house today, so it's been like a 3-4 month process with that. So that's finally done, and I'm happy about that. And yeah, everything's good.
Yeah. Everything's good?
Yeah, everything's good.
Or you fine?
Yeah, I got that.
How are you, Shane?
I am swell.
Ooh,
Swell.
I am swell.
you don't hear that very often.
No, probably not since Leave It to Beaver. I would say Leave It to Beaver days.
I don't remember Leave It to
probably-
Beaver because I don't think it was around, and I definitely know it wasn't around for you. So
no.
Well, it was all reruns by the time I saw it. I mean, I know I'm old, but I ain't that old yet.
Why? When do you think it came out?
Leave It to Beaver? Oh, that's an old black and white.
1955, 56.
Really?
I mean,
Yeah.
I got my phone in here for once. I could Google that. I could Google that there.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, Leave It to Beaver's old. It's black and white. But
Yeah,
I am
remember,
well.
his mom and dad slept in separate beds in the room.
Did they really?
Yeah, if they showed their bedroom, they had 2 separate twin beds, one separated from each other.
If my wife and I slept in 2 different beds, I wouldn't be sleeping in a twin bed.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, these days we have 2 different king-size beds in the bedroom.
How you gonna get 2 king-size beds in a bedroom nowadays, though?
Well, you can in certain bedrooms.
Well, it's but also the days came where they wanted to be a little closer. They just slide the 2 beds together. They got a queen.
And if you're fighting, you separated it?
Yeah.
That does not sound fun.
No. Life in
and
the
my
50s,
wife would not go for it.
Life in the 50s was much more simpler.
Yeah, especially when you sleep in different beds. Nobody took the covers.
Right.
Nobody hogged the covers. No, I got to say, it is well with my soul. It was fun. This past weekend, got to share my testimony at weekend service. It's pretty neat to see a church that values hearing people's stories. I mean, for the entire service. It's not like you came up there for a 5-minute testimony. It was 37 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
Yeah. So got to share the regular testimony that I would normally share at Celebrate Recovery, and then added into stuff that happened that just went through for the last 2 years, really. So dove into that and got real and raw, and it's fun, I guess, watching the entire church cry along with me up on the stage.
Were they crying because it was good, or they were crying because they were sleepy and sad?
No, they were sad.
Okay.
I mean,
They were ready to go home.
Man. Oh, I'm sure he does. I know you posted it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, I should probably watch that. I'm like, yeah.
No,
because I don't want to. No.
Because you cry.
No.
You will.
You lie.
I got wrecked.
Will.
Let me tell you,
I got wrecked. And I even had to leave early, and I still got wrecked.
I got wrecked during worship too, because he asked me, what are some songs that, or what are some things that you might want us to touch on in that? And I said, look, Lion and Gratitude have really been a big key staple in the last 2 years for me. And they played them, and Lion wrecked me, and then Gratitude just lit it on fire. I mean,
shout out to the guys at the Bridge Church, man. Them twins brought it.
Yeah,
they did Lion. They brought it.
Did they?
Yeah. It was really impressive hearing them do it, man. They did a really good job.
Yeah, when the brothers could do worship together.
Oh, so you're saying both of them did it together?
Yeah. And if you know that, you had I don't know the difference between the two of them. I know it's Dustin and Devin. I don't know which one's who.
So Devin did the majority of the singing in that, and Dustin was in the back with the Lion, the roar.
The roar, yeah.
And so when they were going,
Yeah, Dustin brought that roar, man. And he did they did a really, really good job. I was impressed.
Yeah, but it wrecked me. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. No, it was great.
Good, horrible.
Yeah, it was great. I love getting wrecked like that. But got to share in the testimony how I walked in late to service and I stayed in the back, and that was the day that I got wrecked by Gratitude. And knowing that song's how old now?
Yeah, it's older.
But that song, talking about I have nothing fit for a king, man, there was something about that line when I walked in that just wrecked me. And from that moment on, I've just been getting wrecked in worship. So now with that, Brent, how you doing?
You do cry a lot in worship now.
I do, man. I'm a big softie. What can I say?
I'm good. Had a good weekend. Whole family was in town. First time that all 3 of my sisters and myself and parents were together in a while. So it's always a good time. It's about 20 total. So.
Wow. Everybody stay at the house?
Besides my sister who lives here.
Right.
She goes back to her own house. But yeah, the 2 sisters from out of town and 6 kids.
House is big enough.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot of little kids though. A lot of crying.
You could have put them in the closets.
2 of them sleep in a closet.
Right.
That's where their crib is, at least. But no, it's good. It was always good to spend some time with the family this weekend. And then 2 of my sister's kids stayed extra, hang out with my mom. She always has them stay, spend some time with grandma. So it's good to have them here. It's just a different environment when you have little kids in your house. I mean, they have the utmost joy most of the time. They're just happy about life. Just nothing really to
whine and cry about.
Yeah, and just get them down about. They get sad for a little bit, but then they get over it. it's just a great mindset to have about life, I think.
So we could whine and cry just a little bit and just get over it.
Yeah, just get over it.
Sounds
I
fun.
wish it was that easy for some people. I'm just saying, you know, I don't know.
Speaking of whining and crying, how you doing, D?
I'm whining and crying about people that whine and cry. No, man, I am doing well, brother. Boy, I don't know what the Lord was thinking yesterday, though, at CR, but he had me on that stage and constantly praying.
My man was praying last night.
Every prayer I was the one up there. I was doing it too, man. I was bringing it. I felt it.
It's the new haircut.
It had, well, nobody knew because I had a hat on.
Oh.
I was keeping it hidden.
Yeah, we didn't see the bald head.
I don't have a hat that matches my shirt right now, so you know.
So he came with the bald head.
It's hidden. Okay.
I try to pull me a germ
At least it's not too shiny.
Well, that's why I'm not taking my hat off, because
because you're shy.
it'll be shiny. Yeah.
Well, it's not shiny because you're not really bald. You have hair under there,
Your little
That must be
stuffies.
nice.
hair follicles.
Yeah, we should bick that thing.
Let's not and say we did.
Once you do it, you're never going to go back.
I'm not actually. I'm gonna be shaving my head like every other day with my. They don't sponsor us, never mind. But with my trimmers,
Yeah, your thing.
my thing, yeah.
I got a really cool razor that you could use, single blade. Take that stuff right off.
No.
Yeah, he'll be nicking his head. All
No.
Toilet paper all over his head.
It won't even nick you.
You're going to need a Nick stick, though. I'm just going to just get one now. Just go online or go to.
Excuse me, a neck stick.
It's called a Nick stick, yeah, because it's, I don't know. You're going to need it, though.
What's a neck stick?
You put it on when you nick yourself. You put it on, and it stops the bleeding almost instantly.
Oh no, I got an electric trimmer, dude, with like 5 heads.
Okay.
I didn't nick myself yet.
Okay.
So
Nah, you need to get yourself a good razor for that melon.
yeah,
Keep it bald.
man, we're no.
He looks pretty good bald though.
I told him that today.
I do have a nice shaped head to be bald, and that
You gotta have something nice up there, and your melon's a good shape for it.
yes,
There's nothing else in
Because
there.
your whole face is round, so I mean,
I am not. Anyway, so step 12, man. What's step 12? What's step 12? I'm just kidding.
Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to other alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs.
Yes.
It's the same thing for Sobriety.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
CR version? Very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
having had a spiritual experience as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs. We just leave out the word alcoholics
Right.
because we want to reach everybody. We're not, so
No. I mean, I go to CR because I'm overly depressed sometimes. I know you can never tell. It's because of my work with God at CR that I don't have that issue, but it's there.
I got God on my side. He makes sure I'm not depressed. Yeah. Elijah said that too.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? And
he just didn't use the word depressed.
right. Well, they didn't know what that was back then. It's a more modern word.
But they do say he's a very colorful and depressed man. Good old Elijah.
Colorful.
Colorful. That's the way that they label
Yeah,
him.
he had a tan just like me. Colorful.
Why is step 12 considered crucial for your recovery?
I think it's a pride issue because we think. Why did I explain why I feel
Yeah, explain.
why I feel that way? Sometimes it's not so much with me, but I can see it being an issue that I don't made it through all 12 of these steps. Why do I need to share this with somebody else? I did this. I made it through these steps. I don't have to do these things to help other people find out how to do their steps. I've possibly heard a few individuals kind of speak it like that. Is the reason why I say it. You know,
And what did you say to them when you heard it?
oh, that's funny.
Well, that's so funny
I'm
stuff.
sitting here laughing right now. Yes.
It's like that's funny. I'm glad you think that way. How's that working?
Brent, why do you think it's crucial?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind whenever I hear step 12 is that old AA saying and just recovery saying is like, you got to give it away to keep it.
Mm.
And so I think that's the first thing I think of is helping others. And I think for me, it's crucial because, I mean, myself, I feel like I owe it to other people to give it away because so many people help me with it. So why do I get to be selfish and not continue that with other people? So many people were helping me for so long, and at the time I understood none of it. I was like, why would you keep doing this at this point? Like, aren't you just tired? At what point? I had that thought with Shane and Christine. I was like, man, at some point they got to just be like, all right, this ship has sailed. There's no point in trying anymore. But that's not what it's about. It's basically never giving up on someone.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you experience that, what's stopping you from doing that for someone else?
It goes back to my pride thing. People, they're too prideful to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think you're quick to forget that so many people helped you getting there.
Right.
That you then think, all right, well, I made it here. I'm the one standing here at step 12. If there was a place, why do I need to help other people now?
If it was a place, I like that. If it was a place standing here
on the corner of step 12 and recovery,
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't on the corner of step 12 and 13.
Yeah,
we're all good.
Yeah.
A lot of people stand on the corner of step 1 and step 12.
They do.
They do, don't they?
Yeah, the old two-steppers. It's like, oh, I'm an alcoholic. Well, that's what it's called. It's called two-stepping. It's like, oh, I'm not drinking anymore, and I've been to one AA meeting, so now I'm going to go tell everybody else about it. When you haven't done anything in between.
And you don't, and you won't.
Yeah.
But don't you think, I would do that. I would do that not just necessarily with recovery, but with other things in life. I have problems with myself, but I'm going to help other people so then I don't have to work on myself.
I like to consider the two-steppers, or my thought of the two-stepper is the AA slogan person. That just goes in there and says nothing but AA slang. They really don't do anything. They come to a couple of meetings a week. They've probably skimmed through the book or just saw some posters on a wall. And they're not living, like it says, the principles of the Step 12. And so I do think, though, and I agree with you on this, Brett, is you have to almost start giving it away the moment you get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying two-stepping it, but I have to start getting out of that pride and realizing I need to start thinking of others before I think of myself.
You do start giving it away early. There's a lot of times you're picking people up for meetings, and you may be relatively new. So, yeah, you can give it away early, but there's something about that spiritual experience of Step 12.
Yeah.
What was the spiritual experience like for you guys?
That's a good question.
That's why I got asked.
It's not on the paper.
No. Well, I did my 12 steps to celebrate recovery. So there was always the spiritual thing there, but I don't think it was till this last time I did the steps that the true spiritual awakening came, though, because I tried to do the whole, once I finished my first step study, do sponsees and all that stuff, and that didn't work out for me so well. But this time it gave me more time to, I guess, the spiritual awakening really, I was able to focus on myself more to give to others. And that, I don't know if that makes sense, but it was like I was able to focus on the things that I needed to be doing that I wasn't really focusing, because I got to the point where I had to do stuff for other people. And then that's what I thought the whole thing meant to me at first was, okay, I made it to a step study, now I'll just start helping people, doing what I was supposed to be doing. But no, this time it's like, no, I need to continuously help myself in order to give out to other people, because I feel like I get my cup filled up enough that the overflow is what pours into others, not actually me trying to pour into people.
Thank you. Brent, what was it like for you, the spiritual experience or the spiritual awakening?
Yeah, I think I was always looking for like a burning bush moment, but and I never thought I would get that, and I don't think I ever did, but I was just thinking about this, and I think I realized that by working my recovery and working the steps, reflecting on myself, working on myself, that I had reached a point, and it was actually whenever I was doing this graduation ceremony from Learn to Live, like the sober living I was at. And we went around the room, and everybody I lived with said something about like me, something, how I impacted their life. And I think that's whenever I had that awakening, that aha moment of, wow, everything that I've been doing for myself and working on myself has impacted people in ways that I never even thought of. And now I feel comfortable and strong enough with myself that I can now make that conscious effort to go and do those things that these people are telling me I did for them just by living my life. But now I can go and intentionally do those things. And I think that's when I had that awakening of, now that I'm strong enough, someone had told me, like, now that you're strong enough, it's time for you to start pulling people behind yourself. And like, it's time to start helping those people who are behind you and those to come.
I'm going to steal that, by the way. I like that. You're strong enough to now start pulling people behind you.
He's a sleigh dog.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Mush.
I like that.
Is the CR steps awakening or is it experience?
Experience.
I think the AA steps, you might know, used to be awakening, and they changed it to experience.
I didn't know they changed it. Having had
like a long time ago.
Haven't had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps.
Yeah, I think all of them say experience now for some reason. Yeah, pull up that Google machine over there and take a look at that.
I was like, even in the AA meeting, they still say awakening, don't they?
Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. I'm pretty sure. Hold on.
But they may have changed it. They just ain't changed it on the paper they read off of every Saturday morning.
I think it changed, kind of going from like what I said, because we had talked about this in a step group that I did, talking about that difference between an awakening and experience, and people kind of relate an awakening with like an exact moment in time that you have that aha moment, whereas an experience is something, can be something over time that you experience.
Yeah, it's still having had a spiritual awakening.
I do like the spiritual experience more.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn on that, just because that awakening we need. But I feel like how you said that we start carrying the message early. I think that's when we have the awakening, because that happens so early in our recovery. Like, once you really get it and you start pouring into others that early, you usually do have that awakening, because it's finally not about you. So the experience happens over time, but that awakening seems like it might happen before step 12 comes. But we're practicing, we're doing that so early. I don't know. Just the way that I feel like it happened with me, that the experience was something long drawn out, but the awakening happened early whenever I finally surrendered. When I truly surrendered and I admitted I was powerless and my life was unmanageable, there was an awakening that almost came with that.
Somebody was sharing with me just today, actually, that they felt their awakening in step 9. And it ended up causing them to, they got scared, and it ended up causing them to relapse. Because they didn't know where to, they was afraid of, that it was this awakening. This was really happening. The promises were coming true. All these different things were actually happening for them in their AA program, and it frightened them.
And so they
ended up using.
It's like a self-sabotage.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because supposed to be happening like this to me.
Right. That's kind of how they shared it. And I was like, okay, I get what you're saying. Got a little frightened.
Did you snow globe them?
I shook him hard. I smacked him right up that grill. Bing! No, I'm not allowed to do that at work.
I mean, that would be horrible to know that I had the awakening, and then I go out and use.
Yeah, for the awakening to be that frightening.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask is, if you truly have had, because step 12 is having had a spiritual awakening, Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to other alcoholics and practice these principles in all our affairs. If you thoroughly do a step 12 and you're doing a step 12 every day, should the desire to drink even be there?
No. But having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, it don't mean that it happened in step 12. It just says having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. So where did that spiritual awakening happen for you? And was it too overwhelming? I mean, they say we're going to freak out when we see like God's glory, right? It drops people to their knees and they can't even look. Was that awakening that much for them that they couldn't look, they couldn't see God and all that, you know, because they had to look away?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, now that I think through it, I had a spiritual awakening. It just says it's the result to the steps. But then we practice these principles in all of our affairs. So, I mean, by the time you get to step 12, hopefully you had that spiritual awakening somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say mine kind of came around step 4. And that when I started actually doing a 4-step and actually doing a moral inventory and things being lifted off my chest and me feeling way different than I did before I started. It's like, wow, this really works. You know, this is him at work. There's no other way around it. It has to be him. And that's when I really started surrendering myself more and more to Christ because of that, doing that 4-step. So
yeah, I'd like to hear other people's opinion. Awakening versus experience. When did you see? Because I get the experience. I mean, that day was pretty powerful to watch and to listen and to be a part of when you graduated down there. That was pretty neat.
But I think you had told me a while ago, like early on in recovery, you had explained to me that that's how step 12 reads. Is it's not saying that you have to complete these steps in order to have this awakening moment. It can happen at any time. It's just a result of working these steps, a result of working on yourself, doing that.
And a result of surrendering to God.
There you go.
Does AA have principles?
Traditions?
Yes.
So
The ones that you can't say. Anonymity.
Anonymity and confidentiality.
Yeah, no, you can't. Every
closer.
time he gets stuck on that one, reading it out loud, he's like, it's that word.
That word.
But he flies through it fast enough nowadays to where you can't tell that he's saying it wrong sometimes. So
Anonymity.
the humidity of that.
That's the tradition.
That's
it's labeled the traditions. That's why I'm asking these. You know, in CR we have the 8 principles.
It's the 12 steps and the 12 traditions.
Okay.
Yeah, and so if you actually had the 12 and 12, I'm not saying this like if you actually had it, no. But if you read the 12 and 12 and it breaks every step down, you know, this is what step 1 means too, so on and so forth. And then the traditions are, you know, not going to let, you know, anonymity, no press, no, you know, just remembering that this is a gift that we have, and kind of like what Brent said, we only get to keep it by giving it away. But honesty, integrity, you know,
attraction versus promotion.
Yeah. Principalities.
I don't think that's anywhere in there. But that's
Principles before principalities.
principles before
personalities.
Personalities.
Yeah,
I say principalities before personalities.
I know you do.
I do too. I always mess it up.
Oh man. Derek.
Yeah, I think my spiritual awakening, as you guys know my story, I think mine came after the realization of what I went to do. And then I mean, it was 60, 90 days removed from that it all kind of clicked on me. And I'm like, holy cow. And then I could look back and I could see God in all of that. And I could see God in that, like early, once I got sober, but it really sunk in kind of after the step 4. I did complete my step 4 and step 5. And that's when it all kind of like, whew, like I can't believe, like you can't, it's not by chance that all of that happened.
Nope. I would say not.
Yeah.
All right. So how does practicing the principles of step 12 help people maintain their sobriety and prevent relapse?
I think we kind of touched on that a little bit, didn't we?
I think so. But
hey, we'll move on.
I mean, anything else you want to throw into it? I mean, if not, how about personal growth and spiritual development as a result of step 12, though?
Yeah.
We covered a lot on the spiritual side, but not really spiritual growth or personal growth out of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like this altruism. It's like the concept of you have your personal value goes up or increases whenever you do acts of kindness for people. So like my personal value of myself goes up whenever I am on a crowded bus and I get up and give my seat to somebody who needs it. I feel better about myself for doing that. And so I think when you are practicing step 12 and helping other alcoholics, that contributes to your personal value that you have in yourself. So it's similar to like people who give to charity. Sometimes you do it because it increases your personal value. It makes you feel better because you do it. But this is like a true form of altruism.
Altruism, I like that.
I don't know where you're going with this, but then to me, that's not an unselfish deed.
I knew it was coming.
It's like the direct result of doing that. You're not doing it for that result, but that is a
Because I was going to ask, is there any
byproduct of doing that.
Is there ever really a truly unselfish deed?
Right heart, right mind.
But I want to see what Brent says.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is if you're not ever expecting anything. Like just because after I'm done, I feel better doesn't necessarily mean that I went into doing that thing expecting to feel better about myself afterwards.
See, this is a battle. This is the third time on this show that we've talked about this.
Yes.
The third time. Because there's many that say that you can never have a selfless act because we know that we get something out of it. But I don't do it because I know I get something out of it. I do it because it's the right thing to do. Right heart, right motive, right? If I go into it that way, then it's selfless. If I go into it going, I'm going to do this because I'm going to get something in return, well, then it's not selfless.
Mm-hmm.
But it's our heart that matters. If our heart is right and our motives are pure, then it's selfless.
Yeah, I mean, this is like how I would equate it is I donate money to a cause that I believe in. And with that donation comes attached, I want my name on this park that I'm going to help build, as opposed to I'm going to donate this money and I want to remain anonymous. I don't want anybody to know who it came from. I just believe in this, and this is why I'm going to do it.
And you're going to get the same out of it no matter what.
Mm-hmm. See, the first person was doing it because they wanted that recognition of, hey, look what I did. The second person is doing it because they just want to do it.
Okay. I mean, I see where you go.
We're going to convince him one of these days. I kid you not.
Hold on.
No, right. The right heart, right mind.
Right. Pure motive. Right.
Right. I get that. But then I think about the people that, okay, let's talk about some Christians. They believe that God's going to punish them if they do something wrong.
Right.
And then so they have to do something good and God's going to bless them.
Horrible way to think because it's not true, but
I understand that, but that's the thinking. So they're going to do this selfless act thinking that God's going to bless them because they're giving money to church. That's a big one. I mean,
wrong heart, wrong motive.
Yeah. And so
I mean, do you open the door for people so that way that you get a thank you, or do you open the door for the person that's coming up because it's the right thing to do?
It's the right thing to do.
So it's a selfless act because you're not getting anything out of it. You held a door for somebody. If you're expecting a thank you, well, then just close the door in their face next time because it's the wrong heart, wrong
Hey,
motive.
you get a thank you for that one. Gee, thanks, buddy.
Just don't hold the door. I mean, we could go into something, even though we know that we're going to be blessed, we're not doing it for the blessing. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. We're doing it with the right heart, the right motive. If we go into it thinking like the people that give, some of the biggest givers in church, yes, they have the wrong heart, the wrong motive for the give because they know that they're going to get something in return. But do they get the same blessing in return that those of us that give with the right heart, right motive gets?
It's the widow that gave everything she had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our last 2 cents or whatnot. Yep.
Well,
Oh, and you gave this other person. She gave more than what that person
Right.
gave because it was all
The
she.
church leaders always tithed, and then she gave everything she had. So
Right.
They like to use that during.
So it says
The giving
altruism.
time.
during campaigns,
Altruism is a personal value that arises from genuine concern for other people's well-being, like donating a kidney.
Genuine. I tried to give a kidney, but our cells were fighting each other.
Nobody wanted it.
nobody wanted it.
No, I was just shocked that I could give a kidney.
You did enough
Let me
drugs to
tell
kill
you.
an elephant, and you're like,
Just keep it, man.
just keep it.
Let me tell you,
According to his testimony.
You're going to need one here shortly anyway.
when I went in and did the test for our friend that needed a kidney to stay alive, right? I went in and did the test. I'm like, there's no way that my kidney could be good enough to give to anybody. And I went in and they're like, yeah, you could donate it. And then they put the cells together and they were fighting each other. And I'm like, oh, my cells kicked your cells' butt. So I guess you can't. Guess we can't do that. But it was pretty neat that my kidneys were good enough to give away. Give it away. Give it away.
Give it away now. Anyway, personal growth, I just think working the steps is really a big change in my life, and that altogether, just, I mean, you brought it up a few times on the podcast that where I was to where I'm at today, there's been a huge growth, and it comes from working the steps, because I know as soon as I stop doing it, it's over with for me. I just ain't trying to go out like that. And I think everything I try to do or I do is really just to do it, not for any reason whatsoever, because I don't need anything. I don't say I got everything that God's got planned for me, because obviously He's not done or I wouldn't be here, right? But everything just seems to be going well, on a regular basis, that it doesn't hurt me to hold a door for somebody for no reason whatsoever but to hold a door. And it just becomes an everyday thing. And trust me, it took work to get there, and it took the steps, be CR or AA, it wouldn't matter to me because it's pretty much the same thing. But being able to do that and just, bringing coffee for you guys, it really isn't that big of a deal for me. They make it sound like it's some big thing, and it doesn't matter one bit. It's right there.
I'll take a 6-shot.
I know you will.
Americano on ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean anything for me. You pay me, you pay me. You don't. You ask me for it. It's not going to hurt me to do it. So I do it. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the overflow just pouring out. And that's just where God's got me right now. Where He's taking me, I don't know. It's probably a good thing I don't, because I'll be darned, I'll be in there screw it up real quick.
I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody in this room, but I'm going to, I think we all have had some serious personal growth and some serious blessings from God.
Yeah.
In recovery and the 12 steps. And I mean, I'm blessed beyond measure. And when you said, like, I've got everything I need, it's like, I got more than I need. I do. And
yeah.
And it's like we're sitting down here. We have electric. We're doing a podcast, for crying out loud. I
right.
mean,
4 cameras, 4 mics.
I know. It's just
it's
just cool that we get to do this in general.
So one of the things people ask a lot is, I don't know what my purpose is. Think about it at the beginning of recovery. The first, even so many steps they're working. How do I figure out what my purpose is in life? How do I figure out what my purpose is in life? Can the 12-step help them find purpose? Mm-hmm. And if so, how?
By practicing these principles in all my affairs.
Come on. Don't take the easy way out. I mean, how can the 12-step help you find purpose?
I mean, I was absolutely guilty of constantly trying to pry the answer out of you every time it popped into my head of like, hey, how do I figure out my purpose in life? How do I figure it out? How, like, just tell me. I know you know the answer. You don't know the answer, but I thought you did. And I think just over time, I have found that if I get too caught up in my purpose in life, I'm never going to figure that out. It's like the harder I look, the harder it is to find. And through working the steps and having that reflection on myself right now, my purpose is just being as available as I can be in any which way I can be available to someone. And because I struggled immensely, because a lot of people that I surround myself with in recovery, their job is to work in recovery. And so I saw myself as not doing enough in recovery as them, as like, I'm not helping other people enough in recovery. Maybe I should go in recovery. That has to be my purpose now that I'm sober. And I came to the realization there are so many people who are sober who don't go and work in recovery. That's not the only way to serve your purpose in life.
Not at all. Matter of fact, it's one of the hardest because then you got to try to figure out how to separate them.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that. I like that answer.
I don't, you know, God has called us to be teachers, to be peacemakers, you know, pastors, husbands, brothers. We can go on and on. And I think that's actually where our true purpose is. I always, people as guys that are new to recovery, I always ask them the question, what is your purpose? Well, it's to be, you know, I want to provide for my family. I want to provide for my family. I want to be a good provider for my family. And it's like, okay, well, that's great. So you're finding purpose in work and your job. And I think it's good to have a purposeful job, but I don't think that's where you should focus all of your purpose. I did that. I mean, as a police officer, I that's all I focused on. And I'll never forget in the academy, they told us, whatever you do, don't lose your non-law enforcement friends. And what happens almost immediately is you lose all those friends, and then everybody you have is in law enforcement. And then when you get out of law enforcement, those people call you for about 48 hours, and then you're done. And then you're like, what do I do? Like, I don't have any friends because I didn't maintain any friendships outside of law enforcement. So I spent so much time focusing and saying that I'm a police officer, I'm a cop, I'm a police officer, I'm a cop, doing that for years that I never actually lived my life outside of that. I found my life in that. So now, I say this all the time, but my purpose right now is to live life on purpose, to live with intent, just one day at a time. You know what? If it's holding the door open for somebody that day and that makes their day better, great. If it's letting somebody into traffic, if it's, you know, not doing 95 miles an hour and cutting people off on the way to work, you know, it's.
I don't understand that.
You're still searching for that purpose, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm still searching for that one. Or listening, you know, I mean, to me, it's just doing the next right thing, as simple as it is.
Yeah, I would say my purpose is just to love well.
My purpose is to be me, as God had planned me to be.
We overcomplicate
Yes.
purpose so much. It's so funny to sit back and watch.
Yeah. I mean, my working purpose, I'm doing a job I never thought in a million years I would have. I've said this plenty of times on the podcast, you know, if it still stands true. I wake up in the morning and I get to go help people for no reason whatsoever but to help people.
So
I don't even like people. You know?
Yeah.
Problem is you love people too much these days.
I love people.
Yeah.
I do.
So there's problems that arise sometimes from working a 12-step. What can people do to make sure that it don't lead to a relapse, it don't cause problems in their recovery? What can they do to prevent that stuff from happening?
What was the question again?
How do you prevent a relapse from happening?
Because problems people could focus on doing so much in the 12-step that problems could come out of that, right? Relapse, just bad old addict behaviors come up. How can they prevent those things from happening?
I don't know, call your sponsor, do a step study, come to church on Sunday. I mean, just work the program. Continuously work. We have moments, even not today, but even recently, I've had those moments when I woke up and I thought of getting high. The first thing I did was write it down, journal about it. Why did I feel that way? Well, because it was creeping up on my brother's birthday. And so my thoughts on my brother have been coming and going, you know, fleeting. Nothing as serious like it once was, but, you know, they're there. And right away, my favorite little coping mechanism was run out and do that, and I didn't think about it. But, now that I know, I've been working my program, continuously working it, I work through those issues now. I don't feel that relapse coming on. I tell myself no in a complete sentence.
No is a complete
no.
Sentence. Yes.
So Brent,
I think surrounding yourself with people who are in recovery, spending time with those people in recovery, and staying close to God, whether that's through, you can kill two birds, one stone, go to CR, and you get both, double dose of it, but also go to church and prayer. I think a lot of times that we talked about this at church, and I talked about it last night in small group, is you leave Sunday service so on fire for God sometimes. At least I know I do. And by the time Wednesday rolls around, it's like 50% of what it was, because I've done nothing to fuel that fire for God. And by the time Saturday comes, it's like I'm all the way drained. I'm banking on tomorrow to refuel me, and that's only going to last me another week. And throughout that week, it's diminishing over time. And I think the same thing happens with people in recovery. Is if anyone's ever been to a treatment center, 75% of those people say that they want to go work in treatment like within a week of being sober, because they see how great it is and how they think how awesome it would be, and they're on fire for recovery, and that fire flames out so quickly. And the only way to keep that going is to be in prayer with God. To keep that fire going that you get on Sunday is to be in prayer with God, go to church, be in the Word, and then to stay on fire for recovery and keep having that desire to help others is surround yourself with those people who are in recovery, who are living recovery, not just going to meetings, but who actually apply those principles in all their affairs. Their walk matches their talk.
I was going to say, I think it's awesome that you could stay on fire till Wednesday, because sometimes I can't even make it to the Quick Trip down the street, It's like, seriously.
Dang.
But it's...
well, at least he's honest about it.
I'll just say it. It's not that I forget, but I do. I'm an easy, I forget easily. But no, I see what you're saying. Exactly. Yeah. I agree with what Brent and Derek said. I think that it's very simple. If I think of others first and I don't think about myself all the time, it's an easy step to get through. It's what can I do for the next person? What can I do for the next guy? What would Jesus do? Shane, you always say this, it's our job to love. It's the Holy Spirit's job to convict.
Yep.
And if I can show you love, and it may not be that, everything's going to be all right, little Jimmy. It's those words might be harsh that come out of my mouth, but they're true.
And and we deliver it in love.
Yeah.
The kind of love they may need. It might be tough love at the moment.
Yeah.
It's in love. I would say the only thing that's been missing with what got said is the thing that I said about Brenton at the beginning. It's not in a codependent kind of way. So something with boundaries. Having boundaries with people and with situations. Being able to say no. So, having healthy boundaries while doing these things, I think will stop us from getting into a lot of trouble and leading back to that relapse. So we're going to have people surrounding us, but if I ask you to do something last minute, what are you going to say?
No.
And that's because it's a boundary. But some people don't have those boundaries, so they get themselves in trouble. Now they've moved from serving others and helping them to people pleasing. And that's when we start heading down that slippery slope, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the people pleasing is almost a prelapse of its own. Because as soon as we're not happy with what we're doing for others like we had before, we go back to using. Hey, what did you mean I love people too much nowadays? I didn't know that was possible.
He hasn't heard a word we said.
You can't tell me you don't like people. You're past that now. You're a lot different than what you were.
I think that you can speak pretty well to that question that you posed, Shane, because if you don't mind sharing, but you found yourself at a point where you were putting so many people first ahead of yourself that you caught yourself neglecting yourself.
Oh, yeah. It was a way to ignore my problems. No boundaries, no nothing around. But I would say I got to a point where, and I don't know who said it earlier, I thought maybe it was you, Brent, but I did it to avoid me. You know, I was serving people, and I get to avoid my issues. I get to not focus on them, and I have to take care of me. I don't think it started there. I think it started with I was just pouring myself so much into people that I had nothing being poured into me, and it just ran me dry. And then that allowed me to get to a point to where I got into a bad spot, and then I just kept pouring into people to start avoiding the problem. And so I didn't have any boundaries. Mm-hmm. You know, it was just all other people, serve. And it's dangerous. It is very unhealthy.
Speaking of boundaries, you guys ever just find yourself setting boundaries without even realizing you're setting boundaries?
For example?
Well, I got asked to work cover on Sundays for somebody because they, you know, needed to take care of themselves on that day. And, you know, the boss asked me about it. I said, sure. But I come in at this time because I got to have church first. That was the boundary I set for me to work Sundays. I had to get my church on first. And it was like, it wasn't even like I was thinking, I thought of it in my head, boundary. It just came out that way because I know what's going to be best for me. You know, I do my worship throughout the week, and that, I mean, I understand the fizzle part. It's been there before. Maybe not as quick as some of us, but I try to stay focused on God as much as possible. So for me to work Sundays doesn't really bother me too much because I don't always need to go to church to get filled by God. But at the same time, being able to set that boundary and saying, hey, God comes first. I got to go to church.
Yeah, but see, Sunday's not about only being filled with that message. It's just about being a community at that time, right? I mean, look at how many people go there that we're surrounded with. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we see them multiple times in a week, but that community that happens on a Sunday, that's what it's about. I mean, we get a good word in, hopefully.
There's been moments.
Yeah. You know, you get some better than others, but where are we at when we want to receive it? But it's all about the community that happens.
Yes.
Don't think I forget about God as soon as I get to Quick Trip, okay? Jeez, you're like, you know, I like to keep God at the first. I'm like some people. It's like, oh.
No, I didn't say you. What, do you feel convicted? I'm just saying.
Look, he was having that big fire, and it just went down to some embers by the time he got to QT.
Momentarily forgot about
life.
You need to stoke it a little bit as you leave,
life,
man.
Yeah.
Fan the flames, buddy.
Come on, baby, get up.
Oh. Okay.
But you know what I'm talking about, the setting boundaries. It just starts to come as a thing that you just start setting boundaries in your life because, you know, that's worked for you to get you to a certain point. Continue on with it. That's why we teach them. And what's really fun is being able to teach the clients and their families about boundaries and writing that contract where everybody comes to agreement. That's actually kind of fun.
How well does the addict like the family?
Oh, they don't. The family's okay with the addicts making boundaries, but when we tell the addicts that the families are making boundaries for what? No, you just wait and see, buddy.
For your dumb butt.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun, dude. I'm not gonna lie. Now that one is kind of selfish, though, because I do that for the fun of it. I get the little joy I get out watching that.
That's great.
At least he admits it, right?
Yeah.
Honesty, man. It's one of my good values.
This is true. So is giggling.
But we got
yes, sir.
So realizing it is one thing. What's the next thing about it?
Next thing about what?
When we realize something, we have to do something about it.
Oh, yeah, you got to do something.
I don't know. You were talking about boundaries, though. I remember being new to when I was new to the recovery thing. I was like, okay, this is going to be my boundary, right? This is where my line in the sand is. And now, kind of like what you said, I don't even think about it. It's like, no, I'm just not going to do it, right? If I asked you to do something tomorrow, you're going to be like, no. right? And because that's your boundary. You don't have to say, Jeremy, my boundary is if you ask me something within 24 hours, I don't do it. You don't have to tell me that.
I'm kind of afraid of you, so I might say yes.
That's great.
Sad thing is he told me that. And I still ask him at the last minute. I said, Derek, if you need them, you make sure you ask him because I'll forget.
Well, I asked him 2 weeks ago. He put it in the calendar and everything.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So we're doing step 12. And
So then if I need something last minute, I'm going to have you ask him.
Okay.
I think that comes with a lot of things, though. Like, it just becomes second nature once you start, at the beginning, you really have to think about what you're doing. Like, you're learning to walk, basically, and you have to think, all right, this is a situation where I'm going to draw a boundary. What is my boundary? And then once you do it enough times, like anything, it's just like you don't have to think about it. It's just automatic.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like a bad thing. I'm not saying like you just get to start saying no left and right to everybody because that's an automatic behavior now. But you understand, like,
You know when to say no,
Yeah.
and it's a healthy no.
Yeah.
Yeah. A healthy no. I like that one. Have to write that down.
You have a tactile
I
term
do.
right there.
I
bud.
do. Right? What did I do with it?
No, why are you pointing at me to write stuff down?
I like how he was the one who said it. So he has to write it down.
It's a
Like,
healthy
he's-
no.
I'll forget it. I ain't gonna lie. I'll forget.
That's why we write. Writing helps memory.
Oh, shoot. Anything in closing?
I was just about to ask you,
No.
too, but
I would have a question
what's that?
because I'm the odd man out here because I don't work in recovery. How would you recommend people spreading the word of recovery, helping in recovery when that is not their job?
What?
I've got an answer. No. I mean, it's not an answer, it's a suggestion. Kind of like what I said that Shane says all the time. It's our job to love. It's the Holy Spirit's job to convict. The way you walk and live your life is what people are going to see. So regardless if I'm an addict or an alcoholic or whatever, and you don't have to tell me that. The way you're living your life is something that I want to mimic. And it's not us that's doing it. It's God that's doing it through us, the Holy Spirit that's doing it through us, because we have found a new way of living. And so to me, it's just in how you carry yourself, the way you talk, the way the way you move. I think that's what people see. I don't think you have to work in recovery to do this, because working in recovery is not for everybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not. So are you guys having to look stuff up to figure
Yeah,
it out?
real quick, man. So keep talking, as you were saying. What was
No,
that?
I mean, I completely agree with you. That would be one of my answers to somebody. And I was talking about it last night. I'm not the person who is going to go out and invite someone to a meeting, invite somebody to church. That's just not who I am personally.
Right.
But my hope is that the way that I live my life, if I ever have the opportunity to have a personal conversation with somebody and I feel the urge to say something about maybe like my belief in God or how recovery has helped me, that person takes it more than just lip service. They actually hear it and are like, yeah, actually that makes sense because I see those things that you do in your life. Mm-hmm. And what you just said now, I understand why you do those things, and they believe it, not just hear it.
One of my good friends who has long-term sobriety, he way before he got sober, I think like 8 years before he got sober, his boss came to him and gave him a big book and didn't say anything. Just gave him a big book. Didn't ask questions, didn't do anything. He goes, I think you're going to need this someday. And it was like 8 years later that he finally used it. And he went to his boss and he's like, I told you need it someday. And it's like his boss just knew, and he didn't have to say, he didn't go above, hey, you need to go get help. You need to do this. Hey, here's a book. I think you should read it. You're going to need it someday. I'm like, dude, that's a cool story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'd like that. I don't know how much I would like being the other part of that cool story.
yeah, no,
It's like walking up to somebody and saying you're forgiven.
yeah.
All right, so Galatians 6:1, brothers, if someone is caught in a sin, you who are spiritual should restore them gently. But watch yourself, or you also may be tempted.
There it is, man.
Got to bring that one out.
Josh H coming out.
Watch yourself.
So he started that. You know who Josh H is because he's been up.
Yeah.
So he started that. Watch it. And I mean, every Celebrate Recovery in this area does that during that.
Really?
That scripture, yeah. Just because it started at ours at MSC and it has carried over to every Celebrate Recovery you go to an area. So,
especially if we there, because we definitely saying it. What else we got, guys? With that, hey, work the steps, get to step 12, pour back out what's been poured into you, and stay filled. That's what I got for you this week.
Romans 13:10, love does no wrong to a neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law.
You got anything over there, Big B?
Oh, I mean, I would just say don't get so caught up in having to do specific actions and live a particular way to fulfill some purpose that you believe that you have to have or some identity that you have to have. It's pretty simple. Just be a good human being, and whenever somebody asks you to do something and you have the capability of doing it, just say yes. That's all I do is just say yes to somebody whenever I have the chance to.
A healthy yes, though.
As long as it's done in enough time, enough notice, he says yes. And I won't say that's with everything, because there's times that I say, hey, I need you on stage for certain things. Can you do it? And then you go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be doing a podcast or something like that, to where you really got to have that planned, yes, it's got to be done with enough notice. You have a great heart, and you work a very good 12-step. I wanted to ask you, though, what are some of the things that you've really been doing to show that 12-step work?
I think the biggest one that I was doing for a long time and not realizing it was just actually working a recovery program and not trying to hide that recovery program. I mean, I couldn't hide it when I was at a sober living house. Obviously, I'm working recovery when I'm living there. But I think just doing something like that and following people's directions and just being a good example is my go-to thing to do. Is what can I do that will set a good example for other people to see? Maybe they see it, maybe they don't, because I'm not going to be the type of person who goes up to somebody and tells them, hey, this is my suggestion. That's just not who I am. But I am confident enough in myself to do things that are asked of me. So hopefully somebody else sees that. And saying yes to things with enough notice. Getting uncomfortable.
There you go. And now those things that you were uncomfortable with, you seem to be comfortable in.
Mm-hmm.
My closing was pretty good.
It was good.
Yeah, it works.
Get to depend on Brent. What you got in closing there, Germ? Anything?
Yeah.
Your scripture?
I did it.
I know.
Yeah. Make sure you check out our sponsor, Tactile Turn, at tactileturn.com. Great pens, great writing utensils, and also country
Design. Yeah. She just contacted me back, told me that she watched the podcast that got dropped today, and thanks for the shout out, guys.
Okay, good.
So
I need my cup.
we need the cups. Yes, Jordan, cups, all that good stuff. Waiting on you. No.
Hey, make sure you like, share, subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. We're on every podcast platform. If you can't find us, because you're not looking hard enough.
That's right.
All right. You got any questions? Give us a shout out at Awake and Sober info at awakeandsober.org.
And with that, from everybody here at the Wake and Sober podcast, we love you. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Peace.